It's been a while since I last made a video on condos in North York. If you are in the hunt or curious about the 1, 2, or 3 bedrooms condo at work in the most dense condo area in North York or the most northern part of Toronto, you should not miss this video. I will go through one of the most popular condo neighborhoods in Henry Farm, North York, which is along the Sheppard subway line, and cover the current market average price and also the detail of the condo apartment here. Let's get back to it right after. Hi there, welcome back to AV Team Real Estate channel. I'm Antonio, a local real estate agent in the Greater Toronto area. If you don't know by now, I post all related real estate content in Toronto. If you find this helpful, all I ask is for a little support. Please like and subscribe to our channel so that I can keep creating videos just like this. And of course, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, feel free to book a call with me using the first link in the description, or simply call or text me at the number on the screen and I'm glad to help. For its location, North York has had tremendous growth in the past several years in terms of condo apartments. Firstly, they introduced Line 4 or the Sheppard subway line, which has 5 stations and 5.5 kilometers of track and runs along Sheppard Avenue East between Yonge Street and Domino's Road. This line opened on November 22nd of 2002. In order to connect with an extended Line 2 Bloor and Danforth, the Ontario government also announced plans to extend the line east to Sheppard Avenue and McCowan Road in Scarborough. Not only is North York so convenient with public transit, but it is also close to major highways such as DVP 404 and 401, and surrounded by major malls and shopping centers such as Fairview Mall and Bayview Shopping Center. Let's start with the neighborhood of Henry Farm, which is one of the newest revitalized area and is close to Don Mills subway station. This is by far an area where you can find new condo developments that are cheaper but generally smaller units with investors in mind. Current resale condo prices are between $950 and $1,100 a square foot. We'll take a look at the 1-bedroom unit in this neighborhood. Well, as of the recording of this video, we are on the 21st of October, so we don't have the full data yet for October entirely, but we can use it as a reference and then compare to the previous months, including the peak in February and March before the interest rate hike. And finally, breaking it down to the average prices and average median prices, as well as the sales to listing ratio. At the end, you should have a clear picture of how 1-bedroom unit prices come down so far in this neighborhood. As you can see, the average 1-bedroom unit is averaging about $6,188, and if you would like to take the median price average, which I think is a better representation, is sitting at $614 and $250. We have 8 total sales in a month and average on the market of 30 days. Let's compare some of the interest rate hikes that happened during the year. If we quickly check the schedule of the interest announcement, the first one we had was on March 2nd, then the second interest rate hike was on April 13th, and then June 1st, and then July 13th, which had the most significant jump of 1 basis point, and finally the latest on September 7th for another 0.75 basis point. From the beginning of the year, the average price started from $653,000 and reached the peak during March before the rate hike at about $702,000, and was hovering about 20 sales in January, 26 sales in February, and the most in March at 30 sales in Henry Farm for 1-bed unit. Also, you can notice the days on the market were about 26 and 30 days, but in March we can even see fewer days on the market at around 11 days. My assumption is that buyers were trying to purchase before the interest rate announced. Now, we could see the first dip since March. In April, it fell from $702,000 to $648,000, and that is roughly $54,385, which is 8% down. The median price fell by about 7%. The most significant drop was the number of sales, which was 30 days in March and dropped almost 50% to 17 sales in April. And the number of days on the market is also starting to trend up from 11 days to an 18-day average. For some strange reason, in May, despite being the usual high season in the fall, we saw a slight increase in average price from $648,000 to $684,000 at about $36,000, up 5.5%, and an increase in average median median price about $48,000, which is up 7.5%. However, the sales remain low at 15 and the average days on the market went up to 21 days. And as usual, after the interest rate hike announced in June, the average price once again dropped back to $646,000 at about $38,000, down 5.5%. And the average median price was down $68,000, down 9.6%. As you can see, the number of sales keep going down to 9 sales, and the average number of days on the market jumps to an average of 39 days on the market. In July, we had the highest interest rate rise at a full 1 basis point. However, this pocket had little impact as the average price dropped to $638,000, a $8,140 decrease or 1.2% decrease. The average median price is down $12,500 or 2% down. That is not a significant decline as compared to other areas, but bear in mind that we only had 10 sales in July while the average days on the market went up to 40 days. And following the interest rate rise in August by another 0.75 basis point for a total of 3.25% increase, the decline was not significant. As of now in October, if we compare the current average price of $608,188 to the peak in March, which was $702,926, the condo of a 1-bedroom unit is only $94,738 or 13.48% decrease. The average median price fell by about $84,000 at $614,250 or 12%. In comparison to the freehold market, which is currently down more than 20% to 25%, this was not as significant. To be fair, the reason why the average price decline was not that prominent is due to a low transaction. That could be for a wide range of reasons, such as the seller not getting the prices that they wanted and simply taking it out of the market or canceling the listing. Here you can see the specific of what has occurred since the market's peak. In the first column, you can see the total active listing in a month. In general, in a balanced market, the sales to active listing ratio is between 12% to 20%, but also between 14% and 12% or less, which means that buyers are at an advantage when purchasing a property. More than 20% of sellers are at an advantage when selling the property. In January, we see that there were 26 total listing counts and there were 20 one-bedroom condo units sold. That is an extreme seller's market at 76% sales to listing ratio, and there was a small number of terminated, suspended, or expired property and no new listings. This was more or less the same story in February and March when the market was extremely hot. In February, 28 listing and 26 sold at 93%. In March, 38 listing and 30 sold at 79%. After the first interest rate hike in March, we saw the listing to sales ratio drop. In April, 29 listing out of 17 sold. That is 58%. Then in May, it was about 51%. We then have the next interest rate hike in June, and the listing to sales ratio continues to be around 53%. In July, that is when the market shifted toward the balanced market, but not quite, at around 33%. And in August, it went further down to 31%. Last month in September is where we are sitting very close to the balanced market at 27%. But it certainly felt like we were nearing a buyer's market. So far in October, we still have like a week left, but it is currently winding further down to 25%, and that is certainly reaching the balanced market and towards a buyer's market. A few things are worth looking at are that since January, this neighborhood in Henry Farm did not have many listings, and since the last month of September, sellers are starting to put them on the market. Some reasons that I could think of are that most condos that were just being occupied or completed by the developers are now transferring to the sellers. The sellers that had difficulty getting the new mortgage or carrying costs that were too high would tend to start selling it. As for the terminated transaction, we can also notice that they have trended up more since the rate hike that started in March, accelerated much more and slowed down in September and October. And in general, we don't see many expired, suspended deals fell through or price changes in the past year when it was a seller's market. But now we could see more since the rate hike. Now let's take a look at the 2-bedroom unit at Henry Farm. Starting with the January average price of $789,773, the average median price was $783,000. In January, we saw that we had the most sales so far this year with 22, but an average day on the market of 54 days. Usually 2-bedroom units move slower than 1-bedroom unit, and that is normal. As we enter the peak in February, the average price broke the 700,000 and recorded 834,335, a jump of 44,562, which was a 5.6% increase from a month ago. That is a significant jump. The average median price was 840,888, and that is a jump of 57,888, which was a 7.4% increase. And just like that, we reached the peak in March when the first rate hike was announced. The average price went up to 865,000 to another 30,900, up from the month before, which was a 3.7% increase. The average median price was 860,000, a 19,112 increase from the month before, which was a 2.28% increase. After the first interest rate hike, the price went down to 823,767 from 865,235, which was a 4.8% decrease. The average median price also went down 3.7%. Similarly, since the first rate hike and followed by April, June, July, and September, we have an average of 3 to 4% decline each month. From the table, we could see the lowest price for 2-bedroom units went to 647,200 in September, but you can tell that that was backed by the lowest number of sales of 5, and by looking at the average median prices, it is still sitting at 736,000. That is the reason why I like to look at the average median prices rather than the average prices, because it can take a few of the highest or lowest property to skew the number, as opposed to the median prices using the middle prices of the sample size with similar prices. From the peak, the average price in March was 865,235, and so far in October it was 723,080. That was a 142,155 decrease, which was 16.43% down. For the average median price, it was a 120,000 decrease, which was a 14% decrease. Depending on whether you want to look at the average or median price, the drop from the peak in this area for 2-bedroom unit is between 14 to 16%. The main takeaway from this table in terms of sale is that we can see that it is trending down and there are really as few as 5 sales in a month. The sellers simply don't want to sell it. Here we have to further break down the sale of 2 bedrooms in Henry Farm. As you can see, there haven't been many new listings since January, but we can see that there were 7 new listings that appeared in October. The same reason that I mentioned earlier for the 1-bedroom units apply. It may be the period of time when the sellers are receiving the unit from the developers, and some might want to sell them since they don't want the ongoing carrying costs, or they simply can't get the approval for the mortgage due to the interest rate hike. Of course, that is just my opinion. I could be wrong, but for whatever reason, this is a record low in sales since the first rate hike in March. As of terminated transactions, you can also note that it has been trending up since March, and fewer since there aren't many people listing their property. Briefly touching upon the listing to sales ratio in Henry Farm for 2 bedrooms. In January, it was about 52%. In February, it was 71%. In March, it was 77%, and these were the peak when it was an extreme seller's market. And since the rate hike in March, the listing sales ratio in April fell to 45%. In May, it was 42%. In June, it was 35%. In July, it was 36%. In August, it was 55%. In September, it was 45%. And so far in October, it was 25%, which is approaching the balanced market. Lastly, we are going to talk about the 3-bedroom unit in Henry Farm. Right off the bat, we can see there are a small number of transactions in this section. It started the year with 3 sales and the average price was 886,000, but the average median price was 985,000. The average day on the market was just 25 days. Moving on, closer to the peak in February, there was just 1 sale for 3 bedrooms and the price was 1,025,000. It was on the market for 49 days. Then in March, there was just 1 sale and the price was 1.04 million, which reached the peak for 3 bedrooms home in Henry Farm and was on the market for 24 days. There were no sales in April after the rate hike announcement. In May, we only had 2 sales and the average price was 775,000 and the average day on the market was 24. Don't be fooled into thinking that the price has dropped that much from the last sale that was above 1 million. The reason is that there was a unit that was sold in an older type of apartment and hence brought down the average price. However, there was a newer condo building that was sold at 900,000. Possibly prices have come down from the peak already. Then there were 2 consecutive months without any sales in June and July. And the last sale was in August for 625,000 $1,000 and was on the market for 37 days. Just to be clear, this 3-bedroom unit is a 52-year-old apartment with much higher maintenance. This is also an example where the average price could be brought down because of this unit that was sold so much lower than the average price. And finally, we have absolutely no sales in September and October so far. Normally, the 3-bedroom unit have fewer transactions, but this interest rate hike slowed 3-beds even further. Here is a further breakdown of the 3 bedrooms in Henry Farm, and this is fairly simple. There was practically few sales from January to March, and after the interest rate hike, we could only see terminated transactions and more often with no sales at all. I hope this will provide you with information about the current condo market in North York, specifically in Henry Farm. Next, I will do other popular neighborhoods in North York such as Bayview Village and Willowdale. Make sure you like and subscribe, and also click on the bell notification so that you will be notified every time I upload a video. If you have any questions about buying, selling, or investing in the GTA, don't hesitate to reach out to me or book a call with me using the first link in the description. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.